Welcome to Lead with Clarity. This is a space for leaders who want to grow without losing themselves in the process. Each episode is a short reflection on leadership, influence, and the inner work that shapes how we show up for others. It's not hype, not noise, just clear thinking for the journey of leading well. Today's episode is entitled The Discipline of Voice. Here we go. There's a particular kind of quiet that shows up in leadership meetings. Not the quiet of agreement, the quiet of someone who has a real objection or a better idea and decides the cost of raising it isn't worth it. If you've led a team for any length of time, you have felt that quiet. You've probably also been the one holding it. Melinda French Gates put words to this in a way that has stuck with me. She said, "A woman with a voice is, by definition, a strong woman." Let's sit with that for a minute, because it sounds simple, almost like a slogan. But underneath it is a real claim about where strength actually comes from. We tend to picture strength as certainty. The leader who walks in with the answer, states it plainly, and doesn't flinch. That picture isn't wrong, but it is incomplete. It skips the part that happens before the certainty, before someone can speak with conviction. They have to decide their perspective is worth the risk of speaking at all. That decision, made quietly, over and over, in rooms where staying silent would be easier, is where the strength actually lives. Here's the common misread. People treat voice as a personality trait. Some people are just more talkative, more comfortable in the spotlight. And we assume that's the same thing as having something worth saying. It isn't. I've sat across the table from quiet people who carried more insight than anyone else in the room, and I've sat across from loud people who were simply filling silence. Volume and value are not the same currency. Confusing them is how organizations end up rewarding the wrong voices and losing the right ones. The reframe is this. Voice is a discipline, not a disposition. It's built the same way any leadership skill is built, through repetition under pressure. You don't discover you have a voice worth using by waiting for confidence to arrive first. You discover it by using your voice in a moment that mattered, watching what happens, and doing it again the next time it's harder. I think of the leaders I've watched grow the most over the years. Almost none of them started as the most confident voice in the room. What set them apart was smaller than that. Early in their careers, they said the uncomfortable thing once, in a meeting where it would have been easier not to. Maybe it landed poorly. Maybe nobody responded the way they hoped. But they noticed that they survived it, and that the world did not end. So they did it again the next time. Over years, that small repeated act compounds into something that looks, from the outside, like natural confidence. It wasn't natural. It was practiced, one uncomfortable meeting at a time. This matters even more now, in a moment when so much communication can be outsourced to a tool. AI can help you draft the email, sharpen the pitch, find the clearest way to phrase a hard truth. What it cannot do is walk into the room for you. It cannot absorb the discomfort of disagreeing with someone more senior, or the risk of being the person who names the problem nobody wants named. That part is still entirely human, and it's not going anywhere. If anything, as more of the surface-level communication work gets easier, the willingness to actually say the hard thing becomes a rarer and more valuable trait, not a less valuable one. So what do you carry forward from this? Maybe it's noticing the next time you soften a true statement into a vague one and asking yourself why. Maybe it's noticing who on your team goes quiet in meetings and wondering what they're not saying. Maybe it's simply remembering, the next time you're deciding whether to speak, that the decision itself is the leadership moment, not what happens after. Strength, the kind Melinda French Gates is describing, isn't loud. It's present. It shows up, says what's true, and stays in the room for whatever comes next. That's a standard any of us can hold ourselves to, regardless of title, regardless of how many people are in the room, regardless of whether anyone claps when we're done. Something to carry with you today. Where in your week is the quiet you need to break? And what would it cost you if you didn't?